Welcome to the RaceGuru Thunder Hour. I'm your co-host, Rich. Don't follow me on X Maletto. Please don't, but you can't find me there at Fantasy Bosco. Joined, as usual, the man, the myth, the legend, behind the curtain, in front of the camera today, the one and only Sean Engel. Please do follow him on X at SeanE247. That's SEAN E247. And back with us again, the one and only, the Marlin that hunts sharks, DFS_Marlin. You can find on Twitter, the one and only Mark Hogan. Gentlemen, tell you what, it's good to be back talking NASCAR, right? We had a fun week last week, so I'm ready to get into it there, Sean.
Oh, yeah. It's really been an interesting week. A very, very interesting week in the world of NASCAR racing. A lot of storylines, a lot to talk about. There's even a few things that we can go forth and recap from the past weekend slate of races right there. I know we had a full slate of races overall there, Rich. But before we get into it, let's make sure to inform the people of where we come from. And by that, I mean we come from fantasyguru.com. So you can go forth and get anything from fantasyguru.com because they're there to cover all sports, help people win and make some money right there. They got their NFL packages and their draft guide available over at fantasyguru.com. You can get it right now. They've got all sorts of packages. Hit up support at fantasyguru.com for the best possible discount. MLB is still ongoing. You can get the content over there and the packages and the guide. And like mentioned, you got MVP, Platinum, VIP are all in. They offer all different sports for all different price points. Hit up support at fantasyguru.com for more. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave comments and just interact with us. Let us know how we're doing. If you like the show, if you want us to discuss certain topics, we can always think about approaching that too now. That's pretty fun.
If you hate my shirt, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. We do want to thank the Elite Plus network for allowing us to have this and fantasyguru.com. So thank you all. And hey, I challenge anyone, try to consume all the content on fantasyguru.com. Good luck. You cannot do it.
Nope, you can't. And NFL season, it starts tomorrow with preseason, believe it or not. So we got plenty of DFS slates in the next couple of weeks from a football standpoint.
As of us recording this particular podcast episode, NFL preseason starts tomorrow, so there's no time like the present to get in with Fantasy Guru.
Yes, sir. Well, now that we've thanked Guru and hope everybody checks out our pages and, like you said, comments and hits that like button, should we talk about Indy, guys? What do you think? We didn't get to talk to you, Mark, last week, so I'm kind of curious to get your reactions and thoughts to start this off here.
Yeah, it was a pleasant week of racing. I enjoyed it. The weather was a little annoying at the end. I felt like, I'm a conspiracy theorist, so I felt like there was a contingency maybe pushing against Bubba and crew, and he pulled through, man. That was pretty sweet. So it was nice to see that. And, man, in Xfinity, Austin Hill, I know we'll probably talk about that, but bad look. And even as a casual fan, from my perspective, it seemed clear as day that was a move out of frustration to me. So I don't know, man. My opinions have changed a little bit on Austin Hill coming out of this weekend.
He's finally seen Austin Hill get angry.
You're right. I'm kind of with Denny Hamlin. The challenge, Denny basically said, look, there is a plausible way, gaining the car back and whatnot in it, not necessarily him driving right into that right rear. But the data would tell you, officially otherwise. Here's the problem. We don't get any steering SMT data for Xfinity, I found out, because I went looking. Because people are like, the data shows it. I'm like, okay, cool. Someone show me the data because I haven't seen it yet. So I start digging. Turns out there is no SMT steering data. So the best data we have is what Sean pointed out. And you really got to watch closely. And tell you what,
that is.
Drivers out there, stop wearing white gloves if you want to claim, I didn't do it. Because the white gloves stick out like a sore thumb. We have now seen this twice where we see gloves doing this. And Sean's right. If you go back and watch the video real closely, it deliberately looks like he's got the car under control. You see the hands, the gloves, and you see them move. Yeah. And, because the look from the back, I'm with you guys. It was automatic. It looked real clear. But when you look from the front, I wasn't convinced. I know what it's like to get control of a car, and then you're just trying to get back in the driving line and enter the corner. And keep in mind, at Indy with the narrow corners, it's not a lot of wiggle room to cut that corner. So, if you're focused on what you're doing, I could see the plausibility. But NASCAR didn't see it. And I'm guessing they looked at the gloves like Sean did. And, I haven't seen Denny's comment since, because he basically said, look, if we do know and it becomes obvious, then, yeah, you got to park him and do something about it. And, we'll probably get that to the news story, but he got parked for a week. He's going to lose all his playoff points. And really, the big punishment here, I know people are saying they wanted more races for him to sit out. I don't think people understand when you would do this with drivers, it's not just a driver punishment, it's a team punishment. It's a sponsor punishment. And as a sanctioning body, you don't necessarily want to punish those other guys, but you want to make it a really well received as far as, Hill, are you listening now? Knock, knock. Are you getting it? He's not going to have any playoff points, Sean. None.
Oh,
Literally,
no.
He's going to be starting in a hole for the playoffs. So all these wins he got earlier this year, all these good finishes, they're gone out the window. He is now
That's 21 playoff points. It's flat out of the window.
It's significant. So it was unfortunate to see. He has a temper. Sean mentioned this isn't the first time. And see, people were complaining how Bubba did it to Larson, and, there was very little talk. There was quite a bit of talk, and Bubba's not a repeat offender. I'll call it like I see it. If I thought Bubba got, a lucky or, was given a benefit of the doubt when he shouldn't, I'd say something. Austin Hill's lost that benefit of the doubt, gentlemen.
Yeah. It's all about intent, and NASCAR has made that very, very clear. And we can even see that through the other big example that people were trying to point out from the Cup race this weekend when Christopher Bell got into Zane Smith over there late in the race and caused that caution. There's a whole big difference there because NASCAR interpreted Bell's move as him just misjudging his positioning on the track right there. And especially when you hear from the radio communication, it sounded like Bell did not have any real intent in order to just turn him like that, because he's like, oh, tell the 38 team and Zane that I'm really sorry about that. I just ran out of talent right there.
And that happens. Mistakes are going to happen. These people, because hat tip to Catherine Legg. I said, give me a shot with her on Xfinity, not Cup. I had that backwards. Great Cup run for her. But they're trying to, Days of Thunder's line about controlling something that's out of control kind of plays well, right? They are pushing these machines to the utmost brinks, and they're going to make mistakes. And we see that with some of the most talented and best drivers like Bell. It's hard from a couple of those TV angles to see that as a mistake from Hill because of where Amarola would have been in view, where they were going into the corner, what got, kind of led to the whole them getting sideways. And Austin, not to be a dude here, but bro, go back and watch. A lot of people got pushed and wiggled up like that. Larson got into who was the race leader on Sunday?
Are you talking about hold on, I'm trying to think. Why is it escaping me? I do not remember, but
I remember seeing the car hit the wall.
Oh my God.
It is escaping me. We're doing such a great job here, guys.
I know. The thing was, it looked almost identical to it, right? Larson got the air, got wiggly, got up into him. He got up into the wall, bounced off the wall, came down. Man, I can't remember who that was. That's going to drive me nuts till I go watch the video.
Speaking of Larson, though, man, last couple weeks now, like we were talking about it the last time I was on here 2 weeks ago, and hey, the turnaround I feel like has begun. He's competitive. He's recording laps. He's looking fast. It feels like we're back on the upswing with him.
Yeah, first the fourth place finish at Dover, and then a runner-up at Indy right there. That's 2 top 5 finishes in a row for Larson. And you know what? It's reminding me of that classic old Hendrick Motorsports kind of heat up right when the time starts to be right kind of thing.
Jimmy Johnson, the Jimmy Johnson plan. The sad thing is who's not quite on the plan yet is William Byron. And the speed has been there, but the luck hasn't. And we'll talk about it later, but I had him as a name for this weekend, and I'm not real sure what to do with them because the speed's been there. Hendrick's speed has been there. Hat tip to Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman. They just keep clipping off these finishes. But he's gone from perennial front runner to where's he at?
He's due. I think you're going to see it just how we've seen in the past. We're going to see him come on at some point here. I
agree.
I think based off of what you're saying, that it almost presents a nicer opportunity from a DFS standpoint going into this weekend. But it's bound to happen.
I'm not sure this is the weekend where I'm going to circle it for Byron just yet. I mean, I think a case can be made for Watkins Glen or Daytona, really, for that comeback to really hit hard. Or right when the playoffs begin, he's going to just fire it off right there is my prediction. But we can never count it out, though, because it's not for a lack of effort that William Byron has been finishing badly. It's just mostly just because the bad luck, as Rich has mentioned, when it comes to Willie B.
Bad luck.
I mean, you think about Dover, he was running inside the top 10, and then Noah Gragson clipped him and ended his day right there. Or even Indy this past weekend, he was on track for a top 5 finish. Ran out of fuel on the final lap right there and just did not have enough to make it. So it's just been unfortunate for William Byron right there. But as mentioned, though, Bubba Wallace getting the victory right there. His third career Cup Series victory, first at the Brickyard. Very big moment for Bubba right there, too. And it was really cool to see. Really cool to see.
Well earned. I liked it because it wasn't, to Mark's point, we didn't have the red flag that didn't go away. And so people were going to say, oh, Bubba can only win a rain shortened race, right? Like, I enjoy Four Stickers. It's a guy I've tweeted with going back years. And he's the guy that they were referencing in Victory Lane about how many days, by the way. He's been running that shtick for 1,050 some odd days. Literally every day posting it to any media person, whatever. I was glad to see him earn this. He held off a Kyle Larson. He got Kyle Larson on the restarts.
Multiple,
Yep. He worked his way up to the front. They did the right strategy. It was a complete team effort, and it was not an easy race to win. Bubba earned this. This was straight up an earned victory for Bubba, and I have to give him a hat tip.
Big hat tip to him right there, too. And especially 2311 finally got their first victory of the year, and it wasn't Tyler Reddick. Isn't that a surprise?
Open team. And the funny thing is, poor Bob Pockrass. If you guys have X, I highly recommend go find Bob Pockrass and look at him trying to explain the payout structure different for the open teams versus the charter teams.
Yeah.
There's a whole part of it with the last 2 years of finishing position and points. I've always said it's roughly like a 10% sort of range. That's rough. There's all this math that goes into it. And hat tip to Bob for trying to take a convoluted, confusing, complex system and try to break it down for us idiots. I still struggle to understand. Bottom line is there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. And sadly, 2311 is not going to be as profitable from this win without being a charter, which I don't want to talk the court case, but I'm just confused in how 3 judges can say there isn't financial harm. Like, I just can't grasp that. Exactly. And that's not even taking into consideration the guaranteed, grid position that you automatically are in the race, which allows you to attract better drivers, attract better sponsors, which brings in more money. So, I mean, I'm really struggling. Like, I'd like to know what the lawyer for 2311 did put in there to show financial harm, because I'm thinking math equations could have done that for him, but I don't know. I'm not privy to all those documents. We'll just have to see it play out. But it was one of those, we say we like to bet stories. This one had one of the best storylines. Bubba, 2311, the lawsuit, Michael Jordan. It worked out for him, and I was glad to see it.
Yeah, and as a result, he's now in the playoffs, a regular season win for the first time in his Cup career, which good for him, because he's just been teetering on that cut line throughout the whole year pretty much, it seemed. So
it makes it more dicey for his teammate, though. His teammate's in good points position, but if we get a couple of random winners here, Sean, maybe Watkins Glen isn't as random as it used to be with SVG, but Daytona certainly is.
Yeah, and then we have Iowa this week, and then we have Richmond just before Daytona, which last year, as we remember, that served as a wild card, all right. So, yeah.
We love you, Austin Dillon. You made it fun.
Austin Dillon.
Austin's going to have some real fun this week. That's for sure. We'll talk more about that later, but that's a tease. So just a few more things that we got to clean up right here regarding Indy before we move on. A couple more interesting finishers right here to point out. Denny Hamlin went from 39th all the way to the 3rd position. And then rounding out the top 5 was 2 RFK drivers right there. Ryan Preece in 4th, Brad Keselowski in 5th. And then the Todd father came in 6th right there, guys. Nice finish there for Todd Gilliland.
He just seems to get it done at Indy, doesn't he? Like, this is 2 years in a row that he's just figured out a way to get there in the top 10, man. Hat tip to Todd Gilliland, another open team.
Yeah, that's right. Front row. Let's see here. Christopher Bell was 8th. Bowman was 9th right there. So we got 2 Hendrick Chevrolets in the top 10 this week. Carson Hocevar rounded out the top 10 right there. You had Justin Haley and John Hunter Nemechek, who both started towards the back. They ended up paying off really well in DFS. William Byron ended up in 16th right there. Chase Elliott maintains his perfect top 20 streak by finishing 13th this past week. Shout out to Catherine Legg right there, as you mentioned right there, Rich, finishing in the 17th position, top 20 for her. So there you go.
With Live Fast, right? Live Fast Motorsports.
Yeah, which
BJ
is
McLeod's team.
Yeah, that team. Equipment-wise, they're not at the same level as most of these other teams. She wheeled it to 17th.
But I tell you what, BJ McLeod seems to know how to spend money when it matters, because we have seen that car show speed at like the biggest races, right? Daytona 500, they've had some nice runs. You know, Sean, we've talked about it before. This is kind of a crown jewel event. BJ McLeod's a savvy. Isn't he a part stuntman too? Like, he's got another part of a career that I might be getting him confused with one of the other former NASCAR drivers, but he's kind of a savvy businessman, because he had a charter and sold that a few years ago.
He did, especially when he knew that the funding was not going to be able to be maintained to keep that team competitive through a whole season. So scaled back and just focused on races where you can get drivers with funding or be able to get that big payday right there. So that's all that matters right there for BJ McLeod. Chase Briscoe ended up in the 18th position. He led 34 laps and led early right there, but then just strategy did not go as well. Actually, really, he was running in the top 10 by the end there, but then James Small and Chase Briscoe decided to pit at the very last caution, and then that set them all the way back right there too. That ruined a bunch of people's days.
They thought they were going to run out of gas too, and so they were just like, all right, let's just try and pit to make sure we don't, and see if we can, get our position back real quick on the restarts.
Yeah, but it ended up never going that way right there, Mark. So that's how it all shook out.
I would say my other reaction was, we talked about Kyle Larson on the upswing. Well, think about Trackhouse a month ago and where they're at now. I mean, it's looking pretty rough for the whole team, I feel like.
We talked about that last week, Mark. There is a common trend, because if you notice, RCR seems to have lost some speed, and so has Colleague. Well, all 3 teams get the motors from the same place. They all run ECR motors. And as Sean pointed out, AJ Allmendinger was already ripping ECR motors earlier this year. And I think it's shown it reared its ugly head. And unfortunately for those teams, Pocono and Indy are probably the worst places to be. I guess you could say Michigan too, Sean, to some degree. But due to the long straightaways at Indianapolis and Pocono, which you really don't have at any other tracks, having that lack of horsepower is a significant problem.
Oh, big time right there. And we even saw it from this weekend there, because you look all the way back towards the driver with an ECR engine that finished the highest. It was Shane Van Gisbergen in the 19th position of all the things right there.
In all fairness to Kyle Busch, he would have been top 15. He was running top 15 all day until an accident happened in front of him, and they collected him and basically made his front end a parachute.
Yeah, pretty much right there. just a shame for Kyle to have another run go like that. Quickly, just to wrap this up here, we saw the end of the in-season tournament this past weekend too, where it was Ty Gibbs versus Ty Dillon, and then Ty Gibbs ended up winning the entire thing there by finishing in the 21st spot. So that wraps up.
Ty Gibbs' team.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because they don't pay the driver. Remember, we're paying the team.
Yeah, it's a team effort, as they say, I guess. So there you go.
I think you said they donated it, right? And then it all like ends up going to charity.
Like part of it, they said they were going to donate.
Oh, okay.
It's just the reason I brought it up, Mark, is we were sold this was $1 million driver win-to-win thing, right? That's what was going to make it. And then 2 weeks before the end, it's like, well, it's going to the team, not the driver, which I don't necessarily hate, but it's like you sold us a bill of goods, kind of, you know?
Yeah. And then just to put a bow on it, Rich, on this very podcast last week, we ended up scoring big time in the betting department right there, Rich. And even to some extent, the DFS department did work out right there too. Let me run through the notes right here. So both of our DFS core fours, we each named 4 drivers. They all finished in the top 15 or better right there this past week, Rich. So that right there is already good. Your betting core 4, Rich, included the top 3 finishers of the entire race and cup right there. So that right there is big doings that you made it right there. And then I even have the list right here. You mentioned Larson, Hamlin, Reddick, and Bubba. And Bubba was your McChicken bet at 30-1 right there. He ended up hitting. Crazy. And then Larson was second, Hamlin was third. Either way, you're going to walk out with money with 3 shots right there. So
on fire.
Good stuff right there from Mr. Maletto today. And
Thank you.
And then he mentioned in the other bets section, Bubba Wallace to get a top 10, Alex Bowman to get a top 10, Denny Hamlin to get a top 5, and Ryan Preece to get a top 10. Clean sweep. All 4 of those hit right there. And if you parlay that, it was really just
3,900.
Yeah, it was real high up there.
39.60, about 40-1. Well, and not to break my own arm, pat myself on the back, but I posted 2 bets in the Discord on Saturday. I posted 2 winners that I would bet. Connor Zilich and Sam Mayer, and they finished 1-2. So I don't know if I've ever been this hot. I don't know if it'll ever continue and whatnot. And I'm pissed because I built 2 lineups. No, I'm sorry. I only built 1 lineup. And I was adamant I was building around Lane Riggs on Friday. I don't know why I didn't post it as a bet to win because I was really all in on Lane Riggs. And the kicker is I had 1, 2, 4 because of Friesen being third in my lineup for trucks. That one cashed. On Sunday, I had 1, 2, 3 in my lineup, and it did not cash. So that was something Sean and I talked about a little bit the other day or on Discord, how weird that can be. But this is why we like to do some betting with the DFS stuff, right? So because, 3 out of your 6 drivers finished in the top 3, you think you're in a good spot to cash money, and you don't. But I tell you what, I didn't care. Because of the bets, Sean, I'm not going to lie. Because of the bets, I didn't care. And I had forgotten a couple of them. I was giving props to you. I thought they were your calls because I know you supported them. So I was all about, hey, guys, when we're both on or all 3 of us are on, because if you go back 2 weeks, all the bets all 3 of us were on hit. So yeah. I think there's something to be said about that and worth noting. But I'm not going to lie. I felt on fire, and I hope people profited, Sean. I don't know how many people did, but I hope people profited.
I mean, like plus 3,900, that's the same thing as knocking down a DFS contest, like coming in first, so it can be even easier than DFS depending on how good you feel about it. And I mean, that's a 4-leg bet versus a DFS lineup, which is 6. So think about it that way too.
That's a good angle. I hadn't thought about that, Mark.
And what's even crazier is that if you took all those bets, but if you substituted the Bubba top 10 for Bubba winning, oh boy, that would have been really incredibly deep.
They had to be somewhere in. I wonder if we could. Maybe I'll play around with the bet and see because I remember what the lines were for all of them. So maybe I'll see if I can parlay together with that, just so we could see what the odds would have been. That would have been pretty gnarly. And the thing is, look, Zilich's line was low. So if you wanted a way to hide Connor Zilich, like OGB, he was chasing Denny and Zilich, as a parlay to get the numbers up. If you would have done Zilich and any other combination of those other ones, that would have been a good way to get his odds up there. But I'm okay betting them individually, to be honest, guys. I don't mind drinking the juice. I talked about it with Finsty the other day. If somebody came to us and said, hey, give me $100 today, I'll give you $140 tomorrow. I think most of us would be like, okay, what do I have to do? Nothing. Just give me the 100 today and I'll give you 140 tomorrow. I promise. No strings attached. I will get you 140. You'd be all for that. And you'd do it any day someone would, offer that to you. Well, that's similar to a minus 160 bet, right? So why are we so afraid to drink some of the juice at times? I think is something I'm guilty of that I want to address and be better. And honestly, if I hadn't been trying to get over that, I don't know if I would have pushed the Denny Hamlin top 5, but I felt really good about that. And that was before he wrecked in practice or qualifying. I don't know what his line was after he wrecked in qualifying, Sean, but you probably could have doubled up on it because I bet he was plus money come the drop of the green flag on Sunday.
Yeah, he was actually. I'm pretty sure that he was because even his odds to win dropped down to like plus 750. It's plus 500 from earlier in the week. So that right there just shows that it all just changes. But as far as anything else I mentioned, I know I mentioned that whole group parlay. In case you were curious about how that shook out, I'm not clipping or showing the clip because that did not all hit. But 1 out of the 3 legs hit, though, at least.
That's
so,
okay.
There you go.
And as Sean pointed out on X, if you want to see the video, Sean did clip the video so we can, because like Sean said, if you don't believe us, that's fine. We have video evidence of it.
Exactly.
Put it on tape.
We put it on tape right there. And I would replay the tape, but we got a lot of other stuff that we got to get to. So
we saw it last week. Let's move
it along and move on to the news stories. We kind of already touched on a good amount of this first one here, which was about NASCAR's penalty report right there. Mainly, there were two different penalties that were given out. We discussed the main one right there for the most part. Austin Hill suspended for this week's race at Iowa Speedway after right hooking Eric Almirola right there. So this is the first ever case of the new playoff waiver rule coming into effect, where if he gets the playoff waiver, he basically forfeits all his playoff points from the regular season that he's already earned and any that he could potentially earn up until the playoffs starts. So no sense in winning stages right there. He's only just going to be racing for trophies as it stands for Austin Hill. But the other part of this that we did not discuss was that RCR, first of all, they're not appealing the penalty. And second of all, this was what I was teasing earlier about Austin Dillon. He's the one that's filling in for Austin Hill in the number 21 Chevrolet this week in the Xfinity series right there. So first thoughts on Austin Dillon stepping in for double duty this week.
I just feel bad for the seat guy. He's got a lot of work to do this week. He's got to adjust pedals. He's got to adjust the seat. It's a lot of work because those two guys are not built the same.
Definitely not. That's for sure. That is
other than that, good for us. You guys know I hammer this all the time. And we've seen it with Larson. You made the comment Larson bounced back a little bit, Mark. He's been running some Xfinity. I think that matters. I think that gets confidence going. So I'm hopeful this helps because guess what? We've said it before. The Xfinity RCR cars are some of the best. Not so much in Cup. And I think it could be beneficial to have Dillon in both vehicles. And maybe this helps RCR as a whole overall.
I'm fascinated to see if he, we see guys like Chastain or Larson come down and they're pretty dominant. Do we see Austin Dillon do the same thing here? Or are we a little bit more nervous that maybe he's getting a feel for the car? He's just kind of coasting through it to prepare for the Cup race.
Top 5 for me. I think
top
that's a
5
expectation. I think
okay.
I would say Austin Hill expectation would be a top 5. And Austin Dillon's kind of a savvy short track racer. So, I mean, we talk about Richmond and the fiasco, but, and look, I don't want to mislead people. When you go look at the data, the tracks are similar, but the finishing order, the drivers, I don't know, Sean, that we can overlap like we did Pocono and Indy, for example, even though these tracks are kind of similar. But Dillon's kind of a savvy short track guy. I expect a good showing from him this week, to be honest with you, Mark. I really do. Plus, figure in the double seat time, the speed that RCR's had in the Xfinity cars. Honestly, a 10th place finish, I think, would be disappointing for Austin Dillon.
You know what's fascinating about that is there is no lines on a race winner, a top 3, or a top 5 on Austin Dillon right now.
Chickens. The books are being chickens.
I mean, he's got something obviously in the Cup race, but
either that or they're slow to catch on because as of us recording, that change was only announced today that Dillon was going to be in the car. So
yeah, and they took Hill out of so maybe they're just not operating off of official news. I would say keep an eye out for that over the next day. We might get some nice odds on him.
I won't be shocked if they don't launch his odds until after practice, Mark.
I think that's certainly possible too. I'm in agreement right there.
I'm probably more confident in Austin Dillon than the books are, to be honest with you.
I mean, you get like plus 150 on Austin Dillon as a top 5 in Xfinity.
I'd be okay with that, to be honest with you.
You know, I wouldn't feel too bad about that either. I think he's going to be at least in contention for that at the very minimum. So I do like that as the call. The only other part of the penalty report this week had to do with Legacy Motor Club and the number 43 team of Eric Jones. 2 pit crew members were suspended for 2 races after a right wheel was detached at Indianapolis. We all saw that. That was a pretty big hit for Eric Jones right there, too, after the tire came off. So 2 of his pit crew members are now going to be gone for both this week at Iowa and then the very next week at Watkins Glen. So that would be the Jackman and the front tire changer.
Just as a word to the wise, when you put tires on a car, they need to be up off the ground. You cannot tighten those tires or lugs when the wheel and tire are on the ground. You would think the guys would know this, but somewhere there was some disconnect between the Jackman and the tire changer.
It's like he watched him.
I know.
And then he did it afterwards. It didn't make any sense.
I think what it was is he wasn't quite grasping. Oh, they got it. It's loose. Oh, he's putting the gun on it. And I just don't think it registered that, hey, I need to get the car up in the air so they can get it on there tight. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, the wheel broke.
Flat out.
Just broke. So, I mean, they got some torque with that gun. I mean, the tire changer put some effort in to get that tire tight. And that's where I was saying, even when you're changing tires on the side of the road, you put all your lugs on before you drop the tire. Yes, I understand you crank at that other last part with the car down so the jack doesn't fall off the jacks. But if you try to put the wheel on, put lugs on loose, drop the car, you're never going to get those lugs tight. And these are professionals. They just dropped the ball.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened right there. Couldn't have put it any better, Rich. But moving on, let's talk about what happened not too long ago as it stands. Stuart Friesen. He got involved in a dirt racing crash right there. It was a really scary wreck. He had some injuries right there, and he's in serious but stable condition. Oh, man, that was a real rough wreck right there for Friesen, and hope he's going to be able to make it through okay still.
Sounds like surviving will be okay. There's absolutely optimistic. I mean, he's stable enough that they have now moved him twice because they moved him to a bigger hospital in Quebec, Montreal. Then they were moving him before the surgeries because he is going to need multiple surgeries now to a hospital in New York. His season is clearly done. So it's something for us to watch for the Truck Series because I got to believe he and his wife, who are the owners of the team or the majority owners of the team, want to at least still finish out well in the owner standings because he was going to the playoffs. Sadly, he was going to the playoffs. Not sadly, that was the good news. How that works out now, guys, I don't know. I don't know that they can just find, we were spitballing before the show, put Greg Biffle in the car or the truck. Let's say Greg Biffle's willing to do that. Does Greg Biffle get to make a playoff run, Sean? I don't think so because he didn't qualify unless he gets a waiver and he wins a race, maybe.
Well, this whole situation, there is actually precedent for this that's already been established, Rich. A few years ago when Kurt Busch got his concussion and was
that's
unable
right.
to race again. And what happened over there with that was that they transferred the owner points of that car all the way to Bubba Wallace right there. But so Bubba at that year, he wasn't eligible for the drivers' playoffs as it stands.
No, but the owners' championship was still in play. So they could... So basically, it would pay for them to get somebody or somebody's in that ride to make a run for the top 5, top 3, or whatever they want for the Owners' Championship.
Well, it also all depends on if Stuart Friesen can recover by the time the playoffs start.
That's not happening.
It's not likely going to happen as it stands. But if for some reason he did, though, then he still has the option to get the waiver from NASCAR and still compete, in the drivers' playoffs there too. But if he does not get there in time, which, let's face it, that's looking pretty likely as it stands. But then some other driver will be able to take his spot into the playoffs right there.
So have you looked up this injury? Because I'd never heard of an open book pelvis break before. So I looked it up. I'm not sure dude's out of the hospital by the playoffs. Like I'm not a doctor, so anybody that's got a medical background and has an idea, orthopedic surgeon, maybe feel free to enlighten me. But from what I was reading, this may be multiple surgeries for the same injury, not including the broken leg that needs surgery. And I don't know what exactly is wrong with the broken leg, but this unstable open book pelvis injury is like pretty significant. I mean, I think they're moving him because if you don't get put back together right, they talk about nerve damage and organ damage and all this crazy stuff. Like, I'm hoping and praying, guys, he's out of the hospital in 3 weeks. I don't even know how likely that is.
I mean, think about it too. We were talking about it before the show, but he's older. Like,
this
42. Type of injury could be career ending, let alone for the season. So scary. That video, I'm surprised they don't have like a, this is graphic, contains sensitive. I mean, that was rough seeing that online.
I tell you what, Mark, the racing injuries and wrecks, they don't really censor them very often. The only one that you will find censored for the most part these days is Dale Sr.'s. But you can go see Tony Roper's crash, which is absolutely horrendous. I recommend people go look at Michael Waltrip at Bristol simply because he's a large man that somehow crawls out of this crumpled can of a car. And it's absolutely crazy. That wreck is absolutely insane. I believe you can still see the video of Rusty Wallace's wreck where Dr. Jerry Punch was a pit reporter and actually saved Rusty that day in the car. Like, there is video of it. Rusty ended up calling back to the track, telling someone to tell Jerry Punch to go clean himself up because he was so near the wreck and went running over there. He actually had debris all over him. And Rusty was in the hospital bed watching it on TV like he needs to get himself cleaned up type of thing. Trying to remember, because if I remember correctly, Dr. Jerry Punch like stabilized the neck and got him breathing again. Like, he had come forward, and so he had gotten the neck stable so they could get him breathing. I don't think he did the whole tracheotomy thing. Trying to remember, but yeah, Rusty Wallace attributes to him being here today due to a pit reporter that is an actual doctor, Dr. Jerry Punch, who you can follow on Twitter, and I highly recommend. He used to do a lot of football content. He is a hell of a human. I got to meet him in person. Great guy. But that's a fun video and story if you ever get to see that. But yeah, Mark, they don't really, man, even the McDuffie that died at Watkins Glen, you can see that wreck. They don't really blur them out. Dale Sr. is the only one I'm aware of, Sean, that I see constantly edited.
Yeah, I can't really think of much other examples off the top of my head. But racing is a very dangerous sport, and I think despite all the safety innovations, people do forget about that as it stands.
100%.
This is not a safe sport. It's not.
We are spoiled in our day and age, and a question came up in Discord about safety, and I love Fuzzy's back and forth. He and I were kind of debating the whole Hill thing, and Fuzzy was spot on. I mean, NASCAR agrees with Fuzzy there, and he's been doing a great job with the bets and the information he's been taking. So I want to give him a hat tip too. But, it was kind of funny when he said about the safety, and I was kind of like, we can't necessarily react every time when this stuff happens, and I think we forget racing is inherently dangerous. And, Chris Economaki, who you guys may or may not know, was a big auto sports reporter, IndyCar, NASCAR, the whole deal. His story's cool. Like, that dude hitchhiked to Indianapolis from, I believe, the Baltimore area when he was like 14 years old to go start covering racing type of thing. Like his Chris Economaki's story is absolutely amazing, and I don't want to do it injustice, so I recommend looking it up. But he talked about how they made it a point when they covered the sport to not be friends with drivers, because at one point back in the 50s, 60s, they were losing a driver a week. Like, it was not uncommon that they lost another driver. One year in Indy, they lost 3. So these guys made it a point to have a professional distance because they didn't want to keep seeing their friends dying. And Dr. Dick Berggren talks about this because he raced and ended up in the stands one year and made a deal with God that said if nobody was hurt or injured, he'd never race again. And he honored it. But he was from that generation that saw all that and knew. I mean, the fences have gotten so much better, the walls, the cars. We have been spoiled, and I think we forget it at times.
100% right there. So that'll put a bow on that topic right there.
I didn't mean to drag that out.
We got a few other ones to hit right here. These next few are all kind of there's a little underlying thing that I'll mention that kind of connects with all of it right here. But let's start off with the big thing that we did actually hear was official today, and this caught me completely off guard when I first heard about it right here. Josh Williams and Kaulig Racing have formally announced today that they are parting ways, effective immediately. So
wow.
He is no longer in that number 11 car for the rest of the season. And Kaulig Racing, they have announced that they're going to be having multiple drivers rotating in that car for the rest of the season. And it all starts with Carson Hocevar at Iowa this week. So that right there, they've already announced the replacement. Josh Williams is out. And that right there. So yeah, first thoughts, guys.
I wonder from a betting standpoint, if you took Josh, because Josh Williams is up there right now. He's plus 7,000 to win the race, something else. So if you took him, would it just be void, or do you get whoever goes in his place if you do a straight bet?
That's a you question. That is a you question. You tell us, Mark. How does that normally work?
Well, I would imagine, I don't know. I mean, by the time tomorrow comes around and this podcast publishes, I would imagine this opportunity will already be gone. But I would think a book would void it. A book is always going to probably find a way to get out of a bet like that, especially because the driver that's replacing him is going to
pretty good.
Have better odds.
He's going to be a favorite. Yeah, he's going to be a favorite, right?
So I would imagine a book would void it and say he didn't race. But it'd be different if he had like a bet where it said the car itself, or I don't know. I'm curious how that works. I guess from a DFS perspective for the Xfinity slate though. So we have to keep an eye out for that and see how they decide to update that on DraftKings.
Yeah, especially because I'm sure they're going to be posting the Carson Hocevar for the DFS slate with that in mind within the coming days. And if I were a betting man, I'd be willing to wager that he is not going to be cheaper than Josh Williams when it comes to that slate at all. If anything, it's going to be up, up, up.
Or they're not paying attention. Don't add them at all.
They could do that. They have done that, but usually they add them, like we saw with Ryan Truex earlier this year and stuff like that. So I'd be I'm more leery of the books not adding them than I am the DFS slate not getting updated. My overall thought, Sean, on this, they need to find speed because the Kaulig Xfinity program has not been good. I don't know how much of this is actually on Josh Williams and how much of it's on Kaulig, because even when SVG's been at places we like in Kaulig equipment,
he hasn't driven for Kaulig at all this year.
Right.
SVG. He's
that's
been
right.
With
that
JRM
was last year
with his starts.
That's with JRM. I do think we see SVG in a Kaulig car now. I think I will be shocked if we don't see him as one of the top drivers, because I think it benefits Trackhouse to get him more seat time on ovals. I think from a Kaulig standpoint, though, they want someone like Hocevar that they feel confident can bring out the most speed so they can figure out where the speed's at.
But I do want to also say that remember that about Hocevar being the one to be in the ride this week, because it'll tie into something that I'm going to say soon as we keep going through these next two things here. Which, by the way, these next two things are both rumors, but I'll just say that I think there's a connection between them that we got to keep in mind. So this first rumor is about Spire Motorsports, that they are going to be downsizing their truck series program and letting at least one of their drivers go for 2025, which will pave the way for a new Xfinity series program in 2026. So as far as the one driver that's apparently being let go from the team, it is Andres Perez, according to reports and sources. So he's expected to leave the team at some point, at the very latest by the next season. So he'll find a ride elsewhere as it stands. I know, considering that Spire has been going through the truck series and all that, and there have been listings online where some of their equipment seems to be sold off there, Rich. What do you think about how this rumor is going to shake out so far?
Well, like you and I talked about, this seems to play into the news of Ram. So I think that's part of it as far as whoever's buying, because the rumor was Spire was going to sell to Colleague, right? Wasn't that part of the rumor? See, Colleague doesn't have a truck program, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, Spire doesn't have a Xfinity program, right?
You would be correct about that as it stands.
So this gives Colleague the opportunity to get in the truck series, which then gives them exposure in all three series, ways to develop drivers, all of that sort of stuff. At the same time, I think I kind of see where Spire's going with this, because if you look at front row, we have seen the jump from trucks to cup doesn't seem to be as big as we once thought it used to be. Zane Smith, I understand he's not setting the world on fire, but he's not been chopped liver. And we've talked about him at times in bet and DFS and whatnot. And Carson Hocevar took that same path that Zane Smith did, going from trucks to cup right away. And we've seen how that works out. I think there's a little bit of more overlap with the trucks and the cup car than the Xfinity car. So to me, this makes sense. I'm more curious, what does this do with Raja? Because there's a lot of hope for him. Most of the rides we've seen with Spire otherwise has been a hotbed of, we've seen Hocevar, we've seen Byron, we've seen a few of the Hendrick guys, we've seen a few of the other Chevys. So I don't know if they're trying to go like the Tricon way, right? We see this with Tricon a lot. They've got basically one or two anchors, and we see drivers get subbed out in and out all the time at these other trucks. There's something to be said about consistency and the relationship with the driver and crew chief. But as we've heard and seen from the crew chiefs of these teams where they switch out drivers, they seem to take like a lot of pride in having speed and being like, you're hopping in one of the best vehicles. We don't care who you are. Bring your A game because we're giving you the best there is, right? I think this is an interesting way for Spire to kind of focus the resources. I'm more curious in your thoughts because you've started connecting dots with the drivers. I'm more looking at this from a big picture perspective of, I see Ram getting involved. I see Spire going the way of front row. Maybe that's not a bad way to focus on money. I see this as a way for Colleague to expand and maybe get some more development drivers into their programs. But that's kind of the level I'm seeing it at.
Yeah, so you already mentioned the next part of this, which I was going to mention right here, was that the other rumor that's also attached to this was that Colleague Racing may start a truck series program and align with Ram instead of Chevy, who they're currently aligned with in the Cup and Xfinity series right there. So the rumor that I've been seeing is that Spire is selling off most of their truck series program in order to generate enough funds in order to entirely buy out Colleague Racing's Xfinity Series program entirely. So
okay, so I have it backwards then. So Spire's looking to get an Xfinity and Cup, while Colleague's looking at going truck and Cup.
Yeah, so that's the alleged plan as it stands right there. Now, I think the interesting thing is, though, too, is that we're already seeing Carson Hocevar in a Colleague car this week right there. Now, my theory is about all this is that I think that the Colleague and the Spire deals are completely done and over and settled with. And to the point that they're trying to basically assess things is that Spire, I think, is trying to look at the equipment and figure out who they want to keep within the whole Kaulig staple right there. And Kaulig is trying to give maybe Josh Williams some time in order to find another team, because when you even look at the stats right there, he hasn't been performing up to even the standards that were set by Christian Eckes or Daniel Dye this year as it stands. So my whole thing,
Daniel
especially
Dye or Daniel Hemrick?
Die because it's Xfinity.
That's right.
We're talking about
Xfinity.
here.
Yep.
So the other thing is too is that Spire, as we know, they are a pure Chevy team as it is. They're like now the number 2 Chevy team behind Hendrick Motorsports. So I'm willing to bet that they're probably going to be maybe considering to take Christian Eckes and also maybe take Daniel Dye with them. And my theory is that next year maybe they have that third car and put Raja in it.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you, because we saw the scuttlebutt when Raja didn't get that Hendrick Xfinity ride opportunity this year. People were none too pleased. And all fairness, he didn't look bad in the Jordan Anderson machine. He didn't, but Raja's kind of floating around. I mean, I still have hopes for Nick Sanchez. I still have hopes for Raja. I think people, though, were rushing Raja up. Nick Sanchez has a much longer youth career as far as ARCA, go-karts, all that sort of stuff. Raja was relatively new. I mean, he kind of caught a break through a whole different style and program. And I feel like people are rushing him up, and I don't like to see that, because I'll maintain that Casey Atwood got rushed up to Cup. If he doesn't get rushed up to Cup, we talk about potentially another very talented driver. So I didn't connect those dots, Sean, but I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm digging.
The other thing to note here, too, is with Kaulig apparently aligning themselves with Ram, that makes it very interesting with what can possibly happen to their Cup Series program, too, if you really think about it as well. Because you also have to remember that Kaulig Racing, they currently have a technical alliance with Richard Childress Racing. And you know who was in one of those Kaulig rides in Cup right now is Ty Dillon.
That's right.
Now, my thing is that if Kaulig decides to align themselves with Dodge and Ram, they might have to sever that partnership completely, and that might open up another Cup ride with the number 10 car being available. And let's remember, Ty Dillon is not signed yet for next year. They have not finished that deal up, so it makes you wonder right there that maybe, just maybe, they might want to consider putting somebody else into the ride for next season, or just keep them for one more year until they switch. Because we know that Stellantis is not coming into Cup next year, but maybe the year after, likely.
Man, where's Ty Dillon land? Like, I feel like he deserves a ride. You know, he's looking. Now, I do have a question for you on the next topic, though, Sean. So when you're ready to move on, let me know.
I was going to say maybe we should actually go right into our preview for this week's
that's fine.
race, and
that's fine.
You know, go right there. But before I end up closing out, Mark, do you have any thoughts on any of these rumors that and theories that are going on? What's your take?
I was just thinking the way you guys are describing it, it feels like a game of Monopoly to me. It's like one team is taking. It's like, all right, here, give me your green card. I'll have a 2-property Monopoly, and I'll give you my 2 red cards, and you'll have a 3-property Monopoly, and we both win because we both got a pipeline up in the Cup. So,
you're onto something, Mark. I think that is a fair analogy, man. I really do, and it's a lot of just moving pieces around. And I don't want to sit here and say it's just a good old boy network, but there's going to be a lot of overlap, like we saw with the Stuart Haas, you know, Kaulig poaching members of Stuart Haas, right, when they sold, and that's why I think Sean connecting the dots on which drivers we see in there. And look, we're both in agreement. Hocevar is a great fit because they want to see where the speed is, right? And this is an opportunity. They feel confident that this guy can give them some good, honest feedback. So, you know, if anything, Mark, to your point on the odds, if the odds come out, I won't be, especially if they come out before practice, I won't be shocked if they overshoot their wad, right? If all of a sudden Hocevar is plus 750, and then after practice, we're like, yeah, he's more like a plus 1,500 guy, and it's the equipment. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's a very plausible scenario. So, and I forgot. Why do I keep getting SVG so mixed up here, Sean? But I tell you what, I still say they should put him in that car to get him some oval seat time because the dude's getting the playoffs. They need to give him more oval seat time. Running these legends and winning against 14-year-olds is not going to do it.
Oh yeah, but the whole thing with SVG is that Trackhouse does not have the deal like last year with Kaulig. Instead, they switched that deal over to JRM for this season. So any starts that SVG would make, they wouldn't be in any of the Kaulig cars. They would be in JRM because of the partnership, especially because Connor Zilich and him driving for that team is part of that whole deal too.
Sure. That was part of the swap, if you will.
Exactly.
Zilich, another guy that we talked about in the recap, but man, he is just more and more exciting every week. It feels like,
dude, and he's 19.
Yeah.
You know,
but he acts like he's 25.
He does an amazing job in the interviews. He doesn't overdrive the car. I am really excited for this young man. I seriously am. You know, we talked him up last year when we saw him, and I'm not as high on Corey Day as I was on Connor Zilich, but he's another one that I feel like we really need to keep our eye on here, and keep in mind. And he looked good in the truck race at IRP this week for what it's worth. They did. But this Connor Zilich cat, and I tell you what, I hope he's in Cup next year because it appears to me the only guy on the road courses that can hang with SVG is Zilich. And the fact that he openly admitted he's not willing to rule out an F1 opportunity at some point tells me that Zilich has his eyes big and beyond. Like, as much as we see Kyle Larson looking big picture, I think Zilich is looking bigger yet. Yeah. And I'm thoroughly impressed. And it makes you wonder, like, what are these guys doing that they're just so good at 19 years old? I mean, hat tip. I don't know another way. I understand the equipment's got to be there, but it's not like Carson Guapo, who looked great last year at times, has been anywhere near Connor Zilich with the same equipment.
No, Connor's just really that good of a talent. It really is showing it right there. And the crazy thing is that dude's got 5 wins this year. He's putting on a Ty Gibbs-like performance from like 2-3 years ago.
Did you see him call out Lionel for the diecast?
Yeah, about the win sticker going right into the spoiler. That's amazing.
So, Mark, when they do these winning diecasts, they mark them up so they look just like I have a Ryan Blaney one when he won with Wood Brothers, and there's still the confetti. They actually painted the confetti on the car like you saw in Victory Lane, right? Well, they have these win stickers they put above the door. I don't know if you saw this. One of his 5 blew off, or 4 blew off. And it hit and landed on the spoiler. So there's a picture of it in Victory Lane, like from up above. And he circles it for you on the Twitter post or wherever it was at. And you could see the race sticker from the win earlier being on the spoiler with it missing from the door. And he says, all right, Lionel, you better have this in the right spot when you release the winning diecast. So in all seriousness, Sean, if that diecast comes out, I may have to buy it. I'm not going to lie. Like, that would be a cool die. Being Indy, being kind of my track and all that, like, it would be cool to get that diecast. So I'll have to talk to the wife and see if I can make that purchase. But yeah, I thought that was fun.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun right there. And just for context, I'm actually gonna bring that up because I found the post on screen. See, there you go, Mark. How about a diecast like that now? Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
I want that diecast. I'm not going to lie.
That's amazing. That is amazing right there. So excited to see what happens next for Connor right there. And you mentioned Corey Day. I think Corey Day is another name that we can throw into this whole Spire Motorsports circus of drivers that might be coming around as well, too, that I think is also in consideration, too. Because you know what? If for some reason they're like, oh, we only want to keep maybe Christian Eckes, but not Daniel Dye, I could easily see them replacing Dye with Corey Day even, too.
Well, in all fairness, I'd have Day over both those drivers. Look, there's some young talent coming up. Butterbean, Brent Cruz. I mean, I don't think people realize that these are super young drivers. When I say young, 18, 16, I think Brent Cruz is 16. That's why we don't see, if you notice, what we don't see lines on some of these truck drivers, it's because they're too young. They can't put the lines out because these drivers aren't even 18 yet. So, but for NASCAR rules, they can't run at the big tracks till they are 18. But all these short tracks, the IRPs, the Iowas, New Hampshire, Bristol, Martinsville, all these smaller venues, these young men and women can drive it. And I'm excited. And we haven't even talked about Wyatt, Sean. He's still a couple of years away too, but he's got them Earnhardt genes, and quite frankly, he might have Grandpa's freaking genes, is all I'm saying, man.
Yeah, and that's not even mentioning the other racing offspring, such as Brexton Busch or Keelan Harvick, even too.
Well, that's another 10. I mean, we're still 6 years away from them at the very least, since they're 10 and 11. But Wyatt is knocking on the door with Brent Cruz and that group, right? That would be about the next leg coming in. Butterbean is he's right on that cusp. He's coming up next. Corey Day's in that ballpark. Corey Day's been running high limit racing on the dirt. So for all the fans that were bummed that we've lost the personalities and it's not the same, I'm telling you all right now, jump on the Truck Series, start tuning in. We have got some young talent coming up that are fun. They are fun people. They have some personality. And that's still not even touching on Nick Sanchez, Raja. Shoot. Who else we got that I'm missing? I mean, it'll come to me when I write the article in about 15 minutes, but jump on now. Jump on now. That's all I can say.
You know what we should jump on? We should jump on Iowa, Rich. Let's
jump on Iowa.
So let's quickly preview the Iowa Speedway. So we're going short track racing this week right here at Iowa. We've been here in the Cup Series once before last season, but we have been here in the Xfinity Series many times. Let's just put it that way. So,
but the last time was when, Sean?
For the Xfinity Series, you're saying?
Yeah, 2019.
They raced here last year too at Cup.
Well, okay. Let me rephrase that. We came here last year with everybody, but previously, you're right. We ran a bunch of Xfinity and some truck here, right? But that was last done in 2019. I mean, as far as a regular thing. So this was a one-off last year for everybody. All I'm getting at is we're very limited on data. It's not like we can go and say, hey, we ran Xfinity all the way up through 2024, so let's go look at Carson Hocevar's runs in the Xfinity Series. Or William Byron's or Christopher Bell's. I don't know that they play much right now. I mean, Christopher Bell and Byron did do some races in Xfinity. They would have been in the Xfinity cars back then. But I don't know how much we can take from it, Sean.
Well, if anything, we can just take what we know from other short tracks that we have ran in both Cup and Xfinity, because even though Iowa is a bit of a unique beast of its own, it does share some other characteristics between some of the other shorter and flatter ovals that we've seen. So in that respect, we can know what to expect a little bit. But the way that I think I'll attack this is with the usual short track strategy. Go find some dominators, maybe get 2 or 3 potential ones. Maybe look for drivers that may get some place differential if it looks possible. If not, go for drivers that can just survive and make it to the end right there. And with that's going to focus on just a couple right there in order to start, but maybe 1 or 2 long shots if the speed and the positioning looks like it can be there to make it enticing enough. Keeping the strategy section short and sweet, I think that sounds about right. Wouldn't you guys agree?
100%.
I'm with you. I think, the other thing too is just to point out probably 2 dominators in my opinion here, given how the race previously went, given how short tracks often go, you get 1 or 2 guys that really record the most amount of laps, and it's normally the guys up top. You got to squeeze them in. So it's hard to project who the dominators are going to be without seeing the qualifying order. So take everything with a grain of salt when we're talking about the top end. But keep in mind, I think the lazy approach is going to be everyone looks at the one race and bases all of their analysis off of the one race that happened. And I think you're spot on. Look at look at drivers' history on short tracks in general, and that's probably going to give you a better indicator, in my opinion.
And there's also pretty good potential that this can be what's called a track position race once again. So, because even if you look towards last year's race at Cup, the two drivers that ended up leading the most laps started first and second last year. So it just goes to show if you're out front, you get that clean air advantage. Traffic's the only thing that these drivers are going to have to worry about. But in the meantime, they'll lead plenty of laps in the process. So it's important in order to get those dominators.
And be careful with the guys all the way in the back. You get lapped early and you're down multiple laps. It's hard to come back from.
Yeah, quite hard to do that. But that's the basic gist of how we'll attack Iowa right there. But how about we get into the notables and the part-timers list for, it would say all three series like our rundown does, but we only got 2 series racing this week there. So, Rich, you want to hit us up with the Xfinity list? It is quite a large list this week, especially being added to it from some of the news stories that have been happening.
Yes, sir. I will try to be quick, Mr. Sean. Patrick Emmerling, double in the number 07 SS Greenlight racing car. Ross Chastain is back with Junior Motorsports in the number 9. Carson Hocevar, as we mentioned previously, is number 11 Colleague Racing, replacing Josh Williams. Garrett Smithley is back with number 14 SS Greenlight Racing. Corey Day back with Hendrick in the number 17 car. Justin Bond. Sean, I almost had it.
You had it at first, and then it just stopped. But
it.
Justin Bonsignor.
Bonsignor. Thank you. With the number 19 Joe Gibbs Racing Machine. Austin Dillon taking over for Austin Hill in the number 21 RCR car. Tyler Tomasi in the number 35 Joey Gase Motorsports car. Mason Massey, the number 45 Alpha Prime Machine. Joey Gase, number 53 Joey Gase Motorsports. Thomas Annunziata, number 70 Cope Family Racing. Dawson Cram is back with Mike Harmon Racing, number 74. And Josh Balicki is back with DGM Racing, the number 91.
So for the Cup Series, we only got one open entry other than the other usual 6 that we deal with each and every week. And that is Joey Gase in the number 66 for Garage 66. He's doing double duty this week. And the one thing I will point out with him, because we're not going to point him out for DFS, is that he's running a King of the Hill paint scheme for both races this week. So in promotion for the new season that's happening on Hulu. Interesting looking paint scheme. I'll say that much. So that right there is what's happening. So before we get into our driver picks, just as a reminder, we are part of FantasyGuru.com, a fantasy sports and betting site that gives you advice, articles, and content in order to help you win big in whatever sport you want to tackle. They have NFL packages in the draft guide available still right now. Preseason football is starting up, so be sure in order to get on in as soon as you can. We have other packages, including MVP, Platinum, VIP, are all in, and then you get the MLB content also as well. Hit up support at fantasyguru.com, and they'll be able to get you the best possible discount, or you can tell them what sports or whatever else you're looking for. They'll be able to hook you up. And if you're enjoying the show, and if you want to show some appreciation, be sure to give this a like. Be sure to leave some comments, and also subscribe if you're listening to us on YouTube, or if you're watching us, or if you're on the post on Fantasy Guru listening to the audio-only version. Just show some appreciation to us, even in the Discord. Give us some love. Give us some good stuff, I guess.
Love.
Yeah, love. So
I love love. Who doesn't love love?
Well, you had to love that Jesse Love finished 24th at Indy this past weekend there, Rich.
In all fairness, given the status, the car, and all that, not a bad run. My joke is a play off the old David Rudiman commercial. Do you remember that commercial? I love love. Who doesn't love love? Remember that one?
Oh, that one.
For
Now
Aaron?
I remember it. It just came to me.
So that's where I got that whole I love love thing came from, right? I mean, I do love Jesse Love to a degree, but I stole that from the whole David Rudiman commercial.
We got to show that to Mark when the show is over. I think
That's
he'll
fair.
I miss when NASCAR commercials were more like that.
Right? They've ruined them. Remember the Kyle Busch and running through Menards, the race through Menards with the candy?
Oh, man, that's a good one, too.
Yeah, right?
Just the other day, I saw one of the old Napa Know-How commercials with the
Napa Know-How, Napa Know-How. Oh, my God. Can you imagine Chase Elliott doing – Chase should do that. Like, they should bring it back because I understand nobody touches Mikey with that stuff, but it would be fun to see Chase Elliott doing the Napa Know-How. It really would be. Mark's like, what are you guys smoking and talking about?
No, I mean, it sounds great. Now all we get is like a Denny Hamlin promoting a sports drink. So
that's true, too. Speaking of Chase
like
Elliott.
Brady Quinn, now I'm done.
Speaking of Chase Elliott, there was also an old commercial of him when he was still in the Xfinity series, when he did with Napa and Dale Jr., where I remember
right.
they were the Napa guys were trying to get him to do all different kinds of funny promotional stuff, and Chase is just sitting there like, no, why would I do that? I don't want to do that. That one's pretty good too.
The last good one I remember was the Chase Briscoe Tony Stewart one for Mahindra Tractors.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good one too.
When Tony has him up in the air, he's like, "Are you going to put me down now?" No.
or I could think of like the Clint Boyer Mobile One commercials where he does the dance too.
They were good, man. I don't
feel
know
like
what
I missed
happened.
out, man.
You did. Back in the heyday, they had fun. I tell you what, Mark. Do you remember the old ESPN commercials that were fun? Like when the goalie took the bite out of the puck and says it's playoff hockey. It was the same time period, same kind of general concept.
Format, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Just bring some humor, some off the wall stuff, because I don't know what it is about the hockey one. It's playoff hockey. He's just eating a puck, right? or when he's on the hood of the car, and the goalie's driving, trying to see around the guy in the hood of the car. I mean, ESPN had some amazing ones when they put the real grass in Sports Center, and people were, because they were getting all the carpet injuries, blowing the knees out, so they put natural grass in the hallways there at Bristol. I miss those days, man. Hey, at least we were old enough to live through it, because the next couple generations have missed out. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe they'll do a reboot of that whole era.
There's been a couple of NASCAR This Is Sports Center commercials that have been out there before too. Like I know there was one with Dale Jr. There was one with Kevin Harvick. There was even one with Bobby Labonte way back in the day too.
That's right.
Man, there's so many great ones that are out there. Or you can even think about the old campaign that Dale Jarrett used to have with UPS. We want to race the truck.
Yeah, that's right. And I kept waiting for them to paint a brown car out there. And the closest we got, did they do it with flames or something? Didn't they do something like that?
Yeah, they painted a UPS. They painted a whole UPS truck with flames, and they had him ride it during the pre-race of one of the actual races right there too. But the coolest part about it though too also was in one of the NASCAR games, I think it was 05, you could actually unlock the truck and race it in the actual races right there.
I think I have that game. I didn't know that.
So you could play as Dale Jarrett in the UPS truck riding around against the whole pack of NASCAR cars, and it runs about as fast as all the NASCAR cars.
I'm sure it did. That's
Rich is going to pull that game out at 2 a.m. and try
to find it.
Down that rabbit hole.
See if I could get it to work.
Gotta unlock it.
Oh, I missed that back in the day. Really, I did.
Right.
That's enough getting nostalgic. We got to get back into the present and talk about our picks here. So, top price picks to watch for Iowa. Just going to quickly go through mine. I'm just telling you, I'm in on Gibbs. Give me some Joe Gibbs racing right here. I got Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, and Chase Briscoe on my list this week for the top price. So Christopher Bell, he's been incredible at this track in the Xfinity series. He's the all-time laps led leader, I believe, as well in the Xfinity series at this track. And some of that's translated over into the Cup because he finished top 5 last year after starting all the way in the back of the pack right there. So I think he's going to be one to watch. Denny, as we know, Hamlin's been incredible at the short tracks all season long. That's his wheelhouse. That's where he's good at. And he continues to be hot lately. So I think that, especially because he wants to make a charge for the regular season title, I think he's someone we're going to have to really watch right there too. And as for Chase Briscoe, he's been bringing a lot of speed every single week. He's been finding his way to the front and leading laps some way, somehow, no matter what the track type it is. But other than the salary, which is lower than all these other drivers that I just mentioned here with Hamlin and Bell, there's one other reason that I like him, and this is an underrated reason that I think people do not talk about enough when it comes towards DFS and betting. Earlier this year, they held a tire test at Iowa, and the Toyota representative was Chase Briscoe.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, the tire test is important to note because sometimes the drivers that set this themselves, they take this as an extended practice session in order to get a feel for the track and get some more data that they could use for their team. So with Briscoe being the main guy in order to test out the track a few months ago, I think, and we've seen this before, sometimes the drivers that test things out on these tracks, they get an advantage during these races. So I think that's going to come into play this week.
And they are launching a new tire. NASCAR's using a different tire this week. And so based on our conversation with the Xfinity, that fact of the new tire, the tire test, I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm changing my picks here on the fly. Not so much that I got lazy, Mark, to your point about looking at last year, but there was only so much data with this next-gen car, and Penske looks so good. What was alarming to me is you go look at Penske at Richmond, which I would say is the most comparable track to Iowa. They haven't been great. I mean, Blaney didn't have any top 10s in the last two races there. Joey's got one top 5, and that's his only top 10. Cindric hasn't been particularly good. But last year, Penske, the Fords in general look good. But then, as we looked at some of the Xfinity drivers, Chase Briscoe, take out last year because last year was a new year. Chase Briscoe was the last Xfinity driver to win. He won there in 2019. Some of the other windows you guys mentioned, Bell, Preece, Byron, they all won in the Xfinity series. Eric Jones won both in trucks and Xfinity. Ricky Stenhouse won in Xfinity. John Hunter Nemechek won in the trucks. Brad Keselowski won in Xfinity. So, and these are all guys, to your guys' point, that didn't run well on the short tracks. Preece has a short track background. Barry wasn't in that necessarily win column, but he's got a short track background. But I'm rethinking all this, guys, and I'm with you on Briscoe. I think that's an excellent call, Sean, and I think he's flying under the radar. I think the pricing almost makes him too good to pass up, regardless where he qualifies. I'm not worried about the place differential going backwards because, like you said, he's leading laps. He got kind of shafted. He was going to be competitive at Indy. So I'm with you on Briscoe. I'm with you on Bell. I can't get there on Hamlin for some reason. I don't know why. I'm really debating for me if it's Blaney or Byron. And I don't know. It's one of those things where I keep coming back to the same name, even though he's been terrible lately with luck. I'm struggling shaking William Byron at this point, guys. And I feel like he's kind of a price savings too compared to Blaney, Hamlin, and Larson. So give me Byron, give me Bell, give me Briscoe.
Yeah, I think all of those are valid points. I ended up putting down Hamlin. I think despite what you're saying about Hamlin, it's a short track. I mean, he's got a lot of lead laps on short tracks in general. He's a stud on this type of track. So I think he'll be chalky, but it's not terrible chalk to eat. Larson has been on the incline. He's another guy that we should expect to lead laps in this race. Could give us plenty of lead laps and place differential, quite frankly. And I'm with y'all on Bell. I actually was thinking Bell would be a little bit contrarian. It seems like he's somewhat flown under the radar as of recent. But the fact that we're all saying him maybe makes me think otherwise. I completely overlooked Briscoe, and that analysis that Sean just gave out on Briscoe, that's gold, man. Like, that is, no one's paying attention to that with the tire and the extra track time. Like, it's, that type of stuff is exactly why you listen to this, is exactly why we sit here and talk about this. And a week from now is the type of thing that you look back on and say, all right, Sean pointed this out. So hopefully we got it all on tape there, but I'm with you on Briscoe. I didn't include him, but I think I might have to reconsider given some of those facts. And like I said before, take it all with a grain of salt because we need to see where these guys are qualifying at and what practice looks like and all that good stuff before we make any definitive decisions.
Can I ask you guys any particular reason why the guy that led 201 laps last year, you guys just aren't feeling for this week?
So I do like Blaney. You're talking about Blaney, right? So
yes.
He has to be.
He's right up there in the conversation as well. I personally, I think he's more than viable, and it's all going to come down to qualifying, in my opinion.
Fair.
I'm in 100% agreement with Mark right there too. It's not that I don't dislike Blaney. I'm just trying to point out the guys that are got others to watch for besides Blaney, because I feel like Blaney is one of the more obvious names when it comes to this track, just because he dominated this race last year. And we know that Penske has a reputation for being fast on some of these shorter and flatter ovals right there too. I think Blaney's kind of an expectation. And when he's expensive as he is, I think some DFS players are going to be automatically gravitating towards that too. Now, I know, Mark, you were wondering about if all of us mentioning Christopher Bell means maybe he's not as contrarian as we thought. I still think he is a little bit contrarian overall too.
We're just all thinking contrarian.
Yeah.
We're just as a group in the minority of, but in all seriousness, going back to Blaney too, it's like I think my mind is trained to, if there is a flaw in the masses, the process that I think the masses will take, it's an easy flaw to point out that I think a lot of people will just look at last year. And I'm just almost trying to, zig when everyone else is zagging to a certain degree as well. When I don't list him, doesn't mean I don't like him though.
Yeah. No, I was just curious because I was initially kind of real heavy on Penske. And then as we started the show today and I'm looking at some more of the Xfinity numbers, it was hard to ignore the fact, you go look at the Xfinity winner list. It's hard to ignore the Ryan Preece, the Briscoe, the Bell, the Byron, the Brad Keselowski. Like, these are all guys we kind of already liked anyway. And then you go back and see, I get the car doesn't overlap and it's years ago. I understand all that, but drivers have favorite tracks. Drivers have knacks. Drivers have ways they want cars to feel and how they handle and attack tracks. So I have a hard time when I see like a Ricky Stenhouse with 3 in a row wins in the Xfinity series here, not taking that as a significant point of reference. Seeing Bell with back-to-back wins, that's kind of important. Seeing that Briscoe was the last Xfinity driver before we came back here 5 years later matters. Mix that in with Sean's point with the tire test and the fact, see, this is where I'm all of a sudden getting gun shy on Blaney and Penske is, I don't want to overstate or understate this, guys, but Sean, you feel free to correct me because we've talked about this before. A new tire is a big freaking deal. There are times when a driver goes, I can't get a feel for this car because of this tire. And I believe Brad Keselowski was at that tire test too, if I'm correct, Sean. I remember reading about it.
No, he was not.
I'll
tell you that the drivers that were in that test, it's one from each manufacturer. The Toyota representative was Chase Briscoe. The Ford representative was Austin Cindric. And the Chevrolet representative was Kyle Busch.
So
it was those 3 drivers in the test right there.
Busch is an interesting one.
Well, it's the whole ECR thing that has me worried there, but they have been decent on the short tracks. Austin Dillon at Richmond, and the fact that maybe I've had too much of a blind spot to Kyle, because if that's the guy who complains that we don't get practice, Sean, and now you kind of gave the guy practice when everybody else didn't. That's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah. And even though you mentioned about the whole Team Penske thing, well, Austin Cindric is a part of Team Penske.
Right.
He could take that data back from the test and also share it with his teammates too. That whole team gets all the data right there, so it only helps the rest of that team in order to get that. It helps the driver who did the test the most, but that's not like to say that the other members don't get any kind of buff with that as well. They get an advantage as well too.
in driver's talk. It's not like Cindric didn't be like, hey, this was what was weird. Like, we went out there and we did this. It felt this way. It felt that way. So I think that matters. But who's to say that Ryan Blaney doesn't struggle a little bit with this tire? I'm not saying he will, but I'm just saying that that's something, because when before I logged on and saw the sheet, I'll be completely transparent with you guys. I thought all three of us would have Blaney listed. I really did. I figured Bell would be up there. I thought Blaney would be listed. And I even initially had Joey Logano. I mean, with his top 8 finish last year, I think it was 8 or 6. Even though he's been struggling this year, I feel like this was kind of a get-right opportunity. And now knowing that Cindric did the tire test, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Practice will be kind of a telling factor, right? I mean, Blaney made it a point last year to point out this is his home track because his mom's from the area. It was just, I found it very interesting because if I'm off on an island compared to you guys, I usually get a little concerned.
Well, I will say this, though, Rich, that I do not mind the Penske guys one bit, even if you wanted to consider them. In fact, I think Joey Logano is at a pretty sneaky price point that I think we can put him into play this week just based on that alone with this type of racing. So
I could see I just could see
it's just a matter that we ran out of space as far as how many drivers to include, I'd say.
Well, and that's the challenge. And since we don't have a lot of history or pulling a lot, what was that, Mark? You can see Joey griping about the tire.
Yeah, I'm just like painting this picture in my head where Blaney blows a tire, goes into a wall, his day is done. Logano's been the whole day and gets like a penalty for being the whole time and not paying attention. And then Cindric has a good day. I can totally see that playing out. So
it's definitely plausible. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that's not. I would say if anyone blows a tire, it's probably, well, I guess Cindric was having a nice run this week until he blew a tire.
Yeah.
And then Logano too.
Yeah, that's right. Logano did too.
Logano, didn't he shoot himself in the foot though too? I forget. I feel like something else happened to him this weekend. Like he messed up on pit row or something. Maybe that was someone else.
Him and Bubba were on the same pit strategy, and he got out ahead of Bubba Wallace, but then what happened was that the tire just went down on Logano right there, and then that ended his chances.
Yeah, and one thing I'll just add to talking about the top end is I would not be. This could be a very bizarre weekend ownership for both races. Like just given the lack of data, normally when you see less data that people can go off of in DFS, the more surprises you're going to see from an ownership standpoint. So don't be surprised if we have a little bit of a harder time this week projecting ownership.
Yeah, I was off last week on what I assumed. I'll tell you that for free.
I was totally off on rigs for trucks that night.
It happens.
Yeah, because he was, what was he, 20-some%, 20 to 30% ownership?
I thought he was supposed to be a lot higher from what I remember. I can't remember.
I think that's what I could go back and look, Mark, and tell you what his actual ownership was, at least in my one single entry contest. But I had the same thing. I thought I got lucky because after the race was over, I was like, you know what? His ownership was a little bit lower than I think I would have expected because there was a lot of 30 to 50% ownership in that truck race as far as from the main guys we look at. You know what I mean? Like even Friesen had pretty decent ownership. He was like 50%. So value pick. Sorry, Sean. I took us on a tangent here, man.
Mid-tier drivers actually first. We got to get through that whole tier as it is. So basically, we all are kind of in a bit of a different spot, I guess, here. Maybe we have some of the same names, but there's a lot of names listed. So how about we start off with Mark because he has the simplest list of all. So
yes. Yeah, I like so a lot of guys that we've talked about: Ross Chastain, Carson Hocevar, Ryan Preece. I feel like Chastain, we might get him at some pretty low ownership coming off of recency bias. You know, he's had a few DNFs, he's had a few poor races, but no reason why we should think Ross Chastain can't do well on a track like this. He's averaging a 6th place positive differential on short tracks in the next gen car. This is someone who will probably be pretty aggressive to get some place differential early on in the race. But I'm expecting it to play out, to work out. And I also think he needs a good finish here. So I like him a lot. Ryan Preece, I think for some of the reasons that Rich had already mentioned in some of the lower levels, but Priest has been quietly doing well here. Sorry, I lost my page. And Hocevar, I think Hocevar with the track time, right? So coming out of Xfinity, we're gonna have that car has shown a lot of speed in Cup, and I think Hocevar is another player that we should see have in a bounce back spot. I personally think overall, I am a fan of the mid tier. I think this is going to be a little bit more of the contrarian approach. And I don't think you should play more than 2 dominators. I think if you try to play 3 dominators, it's very likely that you're going to miss in the top and the bottom end sub 6K drivers this week on a short track like this. So I'm going 2 dominators, and then I'm hammering the mid tier as much as I can to finish out my lineups.
It's not a bad call overall right there, too. I mean, it's not a bet. I like your calls overall this week here. I'm most on board with Chastain and, of course, Ryan Preece out of the two calls right there. Hocevar, I want to see his numbers a little bit more before I'm fully sold on it. But I do think, though, that he can be in play, though, too. I do think practice and qualifying for me with him. But going through my list here, I've got another driver that we haven't mentioned yet, Brad Keselowski here. Rich did mention, though, that he was the former Xfinity Series winner. He's won 3 times in the Xfinity Series at particular track, so he knows how to get it done overall. And RFK, particularly at the short tracks, is where they've actually found some speed at times. And I do think that they've been ascending as far as their speed has been concerned over the past couple of weeks. And Brad's been finding his way between that top 10, maybe 11th or 12th range a lot in the past couple of races. So I think for the price point and the past history, I like Keselowski quite a bit this week. Then I also, I might as well go there and mention, Ryan Preece, former winner. I know it's me mentioning him again week after week after week, but he keeps hammering it and getting it done for DFS, so I can't help it. But for my last slot here, I got another split pick this week, depending on which site you're playing on. For FanDuel, I'm going with Mark's choice right here of Ross Chastain. He's just been a consistent top 15, the top 10 finisher on this style of racing. So I like him quite a bit there. And the price on FanDuel actually makes him very easy in order to add the rosters there. He's only $8,500 on FanDuel compared to him being the same exact amount on DraftKings, but it's different there because he's literally just above the average salary where he's well below it on FanDuel, which is interesting to note. So instead on DraftKings, my split option is going to be Josh Berry. So Berry, as we know, he's another driver that comes from a short track racing background. And the exciting thing for me about him is that with Wood Brothers Racing, they are a Team Penske-based alliance car. And we know Team Penske is great on these types of tracks too. So I do think for the price point as it stands, Berry is a driver to watch. And he finished 7th last year and led 32 laps in this exact race, but that was when he was driving for Stuart Haas. I'd argue maybe that the equipment for this kind of racing might be a little bit better, so he might be one to watch. And at the price point of $8,000 on DraftKings, he's just high enough where I think that not everybody's going to gravitate to him, but he's not too far low enough where I think that he's going to be kind of like an obvious play. I think he's in that perfect sweet spot right there as far as DraftKings price. So give me some Berry right there.
I'm with you on Berry. I'm high on Berry. I think the same thing. He ran well in what I think is not as good equipment last year, led laps. Only 4 drivers had double digits laps led. Ryan Blaney at 201, Larson with 80, Josh Berry with 32, and I think it was Chris Buescher with 16. Somebody had 16. I'm trying to remember who it was. Speaking of Buescher, I think he deserves a shout out. He's just outside this tier at 8,700, but I think it is worth a mention again for all the things Sean said on RFK. Which, speaking of RFK, at Priest at 7,000, I think is a steal. Where I'm a little twisted here is I'm kind of mixed between Brad Keselowski and Hocevar. I like the extra seat time for Hocevar. I think he's savvy on the short tracks. I mean, he proved that in the truck series. But it's hard for me to get away from Brad, and Brad needs a win. The whole team needs a win. So a little torn there. I guess gun to the head would probably be Barry, Brad, Priest. But I'm right with you guys on all your takes. I will say this, and I might be just Chicken Little. I'm out on ECR cars. Until I know that we can chase the place differential in the back, but I'm at the point I'd rather chase it with other options. The momentum isn't there. The speed doesn't seem to be there. And there is definitely an overlap in the fact that Trackhouse and RCR and Colleague have all just not been as good as the last couple of years. So I'm just avoiding the ECR guys for now.
Fair enough. Just for perspective right there, too, I think mentioning the race script is an important thing. And you kind of brought that up there, Rich, with Brad K. He needs a win in order to get into the playoffs. I know that between this and maybe Daytona, these are probably his best two chances in order to scoop up a win as it stands. And I know Ryan Preece is in that same position right there too. He's not in as bad of a position as Brad because there's still a chance he could point his way in. But I know Preece is a short track racer. He has this race and he has Richmond in 2 weeks circled as his best opportunities in order to get a win. And when I say that drivers have this race circled, it means they're going to put more effort, more of their resources towards doing better in this particular kind of race. And remember, I said that last year when we were talking about Homestead in the playoffs. Race circled. What did he end up doing? He ended up winning. Just telling you. Always remember when I say that a driver has a race circled.
Storylines in NASCAR pay. I don't know another way to say it. We've said it before. Honestly, I would say this weekend's a perfect example. Bubba, we noted on this stream last week, of the last 3 races, and I get it wasn't all next gen, Bubba was the only one with 3 top 10s. The only driver of all 30 some odd drivers in the field with 3 consecutive top 10s. So big crown jewel event. Successful history as a team, him and Reddick, his own history, needing the win, the open deal. We were talking about 3 weeks ago, would they even be able to guarantee their way in? Like, there was so much going in that direction. And I think you're right, Sean. The storylines are pointing for both of them. And if you had to push me which one is a bigger storyline, it's Brad, right? Team owner, former champion, the fact his own teammates are ahead of him in points. These are all kind of a big deal. So,
and let's not even mention the situation that RFK finds themselves in too. If the playoffs were to start today, only one of their drivers is in the playoffs, and that's Chris Buescher. And that's just because he's the last guy currently in on points. So if Brad or Priest end up winning this race, then it becomes a real dogfight of a battle between him and Bowman at the cut line.
And we didn't talk about him because of his price point. But I don't think we could sleep on Chris Buescher as a potential winner. Like I said, in fact, I have it right here. I don't know why I didn't look. Buescher was the other guy with 16 laps led. So 4 drivers with double-digit laps led, and Buescher was one of them. And we're not talking about him because his pricing doesn't really work well necessarily. I mean, because he's in that top tier. So if you want a price savings, but I don't know if I consider him a dominator. To Mark's point, if I'm going to chase 2 dominators, Hamlin, Blaney, Briscoe, Bell, Byron, Larson. I mean, that's kind of the group I'd be focusing on right now. To Mark's point also, qualifying practice is going to matter here. I mean, if these guys start in the back, it's going to be hard pressed for us to want them as dominators. But Chase Briscoe starts on the pole again, like he has been. He needs to be in the discussion, and he's $600 more than Chris Buescher. And I don't think we see any of the RFK guys qualify top 5. They just haven't this year.
And I'm just telling you right now that if Chris Buescher is going to have a race circled that he can probably have his best performance at, it's not going to be this week. It's going to be next week at the Glen. You heard it here first.
Really? Oh, you know what? He has been Mr. Top 10 and top 5 at all the road courses. I forgot about that.
Let's not forget the last time we visited the Glen, he was the guy that beat SPG.
I forgot about that. I did forget about that, Sean. All right. So So maybe we get a BK win this week or a Priest win this week and a Busher win next week?
If I was RFK, I'd be plotting that either Priest would try to win either this week or at Richmond. Busher would win at the Glen and then try to have Brad win at Daytona.
That would give us 17 winners, wouldn't it?
That would give us, I believe, exactly 16 because there's still one race in between. And if we're talking about if Priest could win one of 2 races, then I mean,
right. But
it's only 3 winners.
I thought we had 14 winners this year. Is it only 13?
It's 13, I believe, because we still have Reddick, Bowman, and currently Busher above the cut line.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. Well, let's hit these value guys then, because I actually am excited about one guy in this value tier, and I'm willing to put my nuts on it.
Well, he's so excited to put his nuts on it. I think we should go forth and let him put his nuts on it now. Hit us with it, Rich.
Give me Ricky Stenhouse. You can call him Recky. I don't care what you call him. I think he's a hell of a dude. Give me Ricky Stenhouse. He's consistently qualifying in the back. He's had some bad luck, but they've been running better. This week at Indy, he was running better than what you see in the finishing order. He got collected in an incident that wasn't his fault. Got just like we saw with Larson getting loose, pushing the car up. Same thing happened to Stenhouse. Stenhouse has been incredible in the Xfinity series here. He is a short tracker by nature. Give me Ricky Stenhouse. I bet he qualifies 30th or worse, and he's top 10 finisher.
That's exactly what he did last year, Rich, as you know, and he did even better than that. He did top 5. And you know, the crazy thing is, too, is that Ricky Stenhouse, he's actually talked about how much he loves Iowa Speedway. He loves this track. And he even mentioned that he loved it so much that he was willing to take a 2-tire call last year for track position, and that ended up working out for him well. So,
give me 2 Ricky Stenhouses this week, gosh darn it.
Well, let me just tell you there, Rich, as a spoiler for my list, I am 100% on there with you.
Give me some Ricky. Outside of Ricky
too.
It is getting a little thin, but I tell you what, I'm coming around on Eric Jones, suspension or not for the Jackman and the tire guy. Seeing what he's done in trucks in Xfinity, it's a value play. Again, they're not qualifying that great. Maybe John Hunter Nemechek is the better play. John Hunter was the better play this past weekend at Indy. That was the lean I had. I'm feeling more Eric Jones this weekend, but I could be talked out of it. So give me some Eric Jones. And my last guy here, I'm going to go with the dude getting double seat time, man. Give me some Austin Dillon. I know I sent him out on the ECR guys, but if we're looking at value picks, I'm looking at guys starting 30th and I'm hoping finishing 20th. So I'll consider Austin Dillon, but I don't know that I would put him in a lineup when I know I want some Ricky Stenhouse.
Oh, yeah. Love Stenhouse this week right there, Rich. And you know what? I'm right there with you on Austin Dillon as well. I actually think Austin Dillon at this particular track, he's the type of driver that I think could compete for a top 20. And, you know, maybe if the tire test went well with Kyle Busch, maybe that information trickles to RCR, and maybe that could be even good enough for a top 15 if the circumstances and the car setup lines up just right there too for Austin Dillon. I don't think there's really too many flattering options when you get towards the value range this week. So I am in 100% agreement with Mark saying that maybe avoiding this tier might be the best thing that you can do for your setup as it is for DFS. But despite that, though, I have Austin Dillon, I have Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and I have Michael McDowell because I think he's another driver there that can probably finish inside that top 20 range. I will have to see where practice and qualifying ends up, but I'm going with those 3 as the drivers that I have my eye on so far.
So it's interesting to me that Mark made that comment because before the show, I made a lineup. You guys probably can't see it. Not a single driver in that lineup under 7,000.
There you go.
Exactly.
And it is vast majority that tier Mark talked about.
Yeah, I think the low tier scares me. And one of the reasons, though, and probably why I guess I didn't list Ricky Stenhouse was just, again, starting position. And, you know, if we see a guy start 34th, all it takes is, you know, slow out the gates, and all of a sudden we see him getting lapped, you know, early in the race. So that's that would be my maybe hesitation, although I think there's a lot of reasons to support Stenhouse as well. I would say be careful on that front, depending on the starting position. And then I'm on Austin Dillon. I like Austin Dillon for all the same reasons you all mentioned. He's got a lot of positive place differential on short tracks in the Cup Series. And then SVG and McDowell, I threw out SVG. We don't think of him as a guy that maybe could do well here, but I mean, look, this is someone who's qualifying well on tracks like this. And if we see him qualifying well going into, again, painting that picture where we could see a lot of guys get lapped early on, maybe SVG takes advantage of this, kind of holds the line like that, the Braveheart gif of Mel Gibson. He holds the line. He stays on the lead lap for the majority of the race, and we see like a top 20 finish, and he qualifies around 18th position. That's pretty solid for $6,500. And I feel the same way about McDowell for those same reasons as SVG. So I'm having a hard time finding some options in the low tier. Yes, feel free to dip into maybe one roster spot, sub 6K if you really want to, kind of dabble. But I don't think the Stars and Scrubs approach ends up paying off here.
No,
just in case you were curious, Mark, that lineup had Priest, Bowman, they're 7,000, 7,100. They're the low end. Brad K at 7,600. Then it was Barry at 8,000, Ryan Blaney at 10,700, and Logano at 9,300 with $300 to spare. So for reference, you could take Blaney, turn him into Hamlin. Or, Sean, you and I don't have Stenhouse in here, or we like Stenhouse and I don't have him in here. I could sub out any one of these guys, sub down to Stenhouse, and really upgrade anybody and everybody in the lineup. So, I mean, to your point, Mark, the balance is there. And I'm looking at this lineup and I don't love it. I don't love it after our discussion. I don't have Briscoe. I want some Briscoe love in there, right? I think he's a value. Maybe Bell. I do think I want to go back and probably start with Stenhouse just because he's so cheap. I know what that's going to allow the lineup to do. My average price to be pretty even at that point because I'm with you both, guys. It's a short track, and I don't see a need in us having to chase these low. There was only 4 drivers that had double-digit place differential in this race last year. Okay, now double-digit being, more than 10. 3 of them were around 20, or 2 of them were around 20. The other 2 were around 15 or 13. Okay, that's it. That was the only double-digit. And one of them, of course, was Ricky Stenhouse going 35th to 5th. Okay, so there wasn't a whole lot of options that happened that way. We had 23 drivers that ended up on the lead lap. So to your point, we're going to see guys go a lap down. And there was 2 cars that didn't finish the race. And then Larson, I don't remember the problem. Sean, do you remember the problem Larson had? Because he obviously led laps. I'm assuming he backed into the wall by himself. That's my guess.
I do not remember the exact problem, but I do know that he got in some incident right there where I do think that he ended up getting into the wall, and then that set him back. It didn't eliminate him from the entire race, but he did have to spend quite a bit of time repairing damage and just fell back as a result.
Yeah, because he was like 30 laps down, 36 laps down. We had Kaz Gralla 3 laps down, Eric Jones 2 laps down, Zane Smith 2 laps down, Austin Cindric 2 laps down. The rest of them just 1 lap down, which was a group of 5 or 6 of them, and then everybody else on the lead lap from 23rd and up. So the point being is we did see some lap cars. I know we had some cautions. This tire is going to change things. I expect if NASCAR gets what they want, gentlemen, we are going to see significant drop-off on the last quarter to last third of the tire run. That's the goal here. Whether we see it or not, I don't know. I don't think they want what we got at Bristol last year, but they want more than what we got at Bristol this year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely more wear and tear, which, by the way, if it does end up being those conditions or points towards it being that way, that favors the drivers that have more of a short track road racing background and some of the veterans of the sport, particularly that know how to do tire management. Denny Hamlin.
Keselowski. The same guys that we saw do well at Bristol last spring, or, a year ago this past spring, right? Same concept. So, man, you guys, honestly, I really appreciated tonight's show because I completely changed my approach to this weekend's DFS. I'm not going to lie. Not so much the bets. I mean, we should talk about the bets, but you guys got me to change my DFS approach. So
I was thinking,
gentlemen,
you say a lot, Rich. Hey, it's about, we've talked about process, and we talk about the process of it's about chasing the fantasy points versus finishing position. Well, this might be a race where the fantasy points are in results of just chasing the highest positions. So going into that process, it's like where those two philosophies or thought process kind of converge, and we might see both play out the same way.
Mark, it's funny you said that because as I was working on the article before the show, that is exactly the thought process I had, where I was like, this week chasing points might be chasing finishing positions. When I looked at last year's event, I'm like, place differential didn't pay to chase. There was a whole bunch of them that had 7 to 8. Okay. A whole bunch. Then we had a whole bunch that had negative, right? Only a couple with massive gains, couple massive loss, but only a couple with massive gains. And it paid to have the guys that finished well. Because if you go look at the price points, Sean, you brought up Gilliland, right? In Stenhouse, they were cheap last year. So you easily could have put in just about anybody you wanted using those two guys, and you would have been in good shape.
And just for the record, Todd Gilliland, if you wanted to use him this week, he's also very cheap again this year too. So that's another thing to consider.
Right. I mean, imagine you use those two. You could, not that we were saying go chase a whole bunch of dominators, but you use those two and you build your lineup around that base. You can pick whichever two top dogs you want. You could even upgrade one of the mid-tier guys to a higher mid-tier or lower, higher tier guy. So I think you guys are onto something. And I found this very helpful. I know we drug it out a little bit, and I'm looking forward to talk about the bets, but I'm not going to lie, gentlemen. The two of you convinced me to change my approach, and I feel much better about building a lineup now than I did when we entered the show. I was struggling. I'll be completely frank with everybody. I don't know if it was pressure because I felt like I did well last week. I was struggling, gentlemen. I could not feel good about what I was picking. I felt like I was leaning on last year's event. I couldn't find other data that I liked. So seeing you guys overlap a bit kind of pointed me in a different direction. Hat tip, game on. Let's roll.
Thank you so much for that, Rich. That's pretty cool. Just want to mention before we move on, though, too, that I know there's a few members of our Fantasy Guru Discord that love to use those sub 6K guys. But what I am going to tell you is do not be married to that strategy this week. It may come back to bite you. So I know some people love to just get as much top guys as possible. You have to take each week differently and do not fall in love with that strategy.
Sean, I had 1, 2, 3 in the lineup. 50% of the lineup I nailed and cashed $0.
Exactly.
And it was because the low end guys were too low and were in a factor. I could have maybe gotten rid of one of them. And in all fairness, a couple of them had some trouble. But for minimal changes, I could have gotten another mid-tier 2 guys in and pivoted off of some of that value and been better off.
Exactly. So for those of you that are listening in our Discord, do not be married to the below 6K guys, okay? We've seen too many of you do this sometimes, and it comes back to bite you.
Mark has not led us astray when he talks about the builds. Just saying. And he straight up said right off the bat, don't go chasing stars and scrubs this week.
Yeah, we're warning you. This may not be the week in order to do that unless we see a lot of opportunities that come up through how qualifying shakes out, but I don't think that's going to be the case this week. So there, it had to be said. Let's move on to our bets right here. Well, core fours right here. So DFS core fours, let's just go through this real quick. I got Christopher Bell here at 10,200 on DraftKings, 13,500 on FanDuel. I got Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 5,700 on DraftKings, 4,000 on FanDuel. And yeah, I'm going there once again. Ryan Preece at 7,000 on DraftKings and 6,800 on FanDuel. And then for the last slot, it's my split pick, basically. If you're doing this on DraftKings, Josh Berry is in the core at 8,000. If you're doing this on FanDuel, Ross Chastain's in the core at 8,500. How about you hit us with yours next, Mark? How about that? What do you got?
Yeah, I went Christopher Bell as well at 10,200. Ross Chastain, I'll go with him on DraftKings here at 8,500 as well. Carson Hocevar. So I'm basically just taking all of my mid-tier guys that I mentioned before and pairing them up with one of my upper tiers. I got Carson Hocevar at 7,400 and Ryan Preece at 7,000. So again, the thought process is the build. I'm not necessarily locked in on any one of these guys until we see the starting positions.
All right, to help illustrate how you guys changed me, you guys can all see the show sheet, right?
Oh, yeah.
Here's where I'm at. I wrote them down. After our discussion and everything, I wrote down a new list. Christopher Bell, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Preece, Ricky Stenhouse. That's my 4.
Love it.
I love that list, too.
Far different than what's on the sheet, right? I mean, so like I said, I just wanted to help illustrate you. I appreciate your guys' thoughts and where you're coming from. It totally gave me a different perspective. So thank you. Because I feel much better. I would love to build out around Stenhouse, Bell, BK, and Priest, and that'll still give me enough room to chase whatever top dog I want and have money to do a couple of different things at the last spot.
Yep.
Like that. Betting core fours. Let's get into that real quick. So this is the beginning of our bets. For me to win, I got Denny Hamlin at plus 450, Christopher Bell at plus 500. And yeah, I didn't mention Ryan Blaney in the DFS much as Rich pointed out, but I got him here at the betting at plus 550 in order to win. And then the last slot, this is leading sort of towards that Boulder-ish direction, but give me Chase Briscoe at 18-1 in order to win. I think there's a chance here.
I like that. Yeah,
I don't like. Go ahead, Mark.
You don't like Briscoe at 1,800?
No, I don't like my list. So go ahead.
Well, I'm pretty similar to Sean here. I took the same approach where I got Hamlin plus 450. I got Larson plus 450. I don't want to be all in on Christopher Bell. So I'll have a little bit of exposure to Larson. I want to have exposure to Bell, to Hamlin. Give me Blaney as well as a plus 550 bet so that I get exposure to him. And then guy we haven't really talked about, but Chase Elliott plus 1,100. He's just kind of sitting around there at 11-1 odds. I'll take Chase Elliott all day at those types of odds.
Like it.
So just to be transparent, my list was Ryan Blaney at plus 550, Joey Logano at plus 1,000, Kyle Larson at plus 450, and Chris Buescher at plus 2,000. I think I would change Chris Buescher and go to Brad Keselowski at plus 3,500. And to parlay this, Sean, into our next section here, Brad's going to be my McChicken bet of the week at plus 3,500. I was torn between Barry and Buescher, but the more I sit here, the more I ponder. I'm on Brad, McChicken bet of the week, plus 3,500 for the win.
I can get behind that, too. I don't mind Brad at those odds right there, too, but he's not my bold McChicken call.
No, I like yours. I'm looking forward to yours.
Although he was in consideration, though. He was considered. So getting into the other bets and picks right here. You already started on yours, Rich. How about you lead us off here?
All right. So I like Mark's idea. So here's the thing. I've got Brad all over the place. I got him in the core and I've got him in the bets here. So something needs to give. But I like Brad for a top 10 at plus 130. I like Alex Bowman for a top 10 at plus 200. And I like Ryan Blaney for a top 5 at minus 130.
All right. So just so you know, Rich, remember last week I said that I endorsed all your bets and that ended up leading to success. Well, if you look at my list, I share 2 of the same exact bets as you again this week right here.
You sure do.
I'm with you on the Brad K top 10 at plus 130. I'm also with you on the Alex Bowman top 10 at plus 200 right there. Now I'm also in on Josh Berry at plus 100 even money for top 10 right there from DK Sportsbook. And I'm going there. Ryan Preece at plus 250 in order to get a top 10 right there. And then shall I go on with the McChicken? Shall I?
Go on with the McChicken.
We're doing it right there. Ryan Preece to win at plus 5,000 right there. 50-1 in order to win. That line is, I think, out of all of them, the most off right there. I mean,
I could support that. I could support the McChicken bet, but I wanted to officially endorse the Ryan Preece for the top 10. So put us down for an endorsement there. The only reason I'm not endorsing the Josh Berry one, I want him at longer odds. I don't like the even money. It to me, it's too close. We had the discussion with OGB Snacks and Discord. I'm lukewarm, so I don't want to take any sort of credit or whatever, but I want to tail the Ryan Preece. We're on the other two. So folks listening, just keep that in mind. There's significant overlap there. And maybe Mark surprises us and we get a slam dunk.
Yeah, on my end, I mean, I will say I decided to eat my McChicken this week. I did not place a McChicken bet, or I don't have a McChicken bet here. But I got a little bit of a different approach. I'm going to go on DraftKings. They have a Group C winner option where we can look at Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain, and Kyle Busch. I got Chris Buescher plus 250 to beat those other three drivers. Briscoe has me feeling a little uneasy about that one, but at plus 250 for Buescher, I'll take that.
You know what? Would it be crazy to do two bets on that? One for Buescher, one for Briscoe?
I was going to say, that's
a great
the
idea.
Exact approach I take on that right there, because you know what? You place one unit on one and you place one unit on the other. As long as one of them hits, you're still going to cash out and profit either way. So
and I don't want to be but I think it's between Buescher and Briscoe. I don't even think I'd consider the other two as far as winning that group. I really don't.
I would say so as well.
Yeah. And also, I'm going to officially make that a thing where if we don't put a McChicken bet, then we call it we're eating our McChickens.
Yeah. I'm on a cheat week here. No diet for me this week. I'm ordering the McFlurry as well.
Oh, the McFlurry.
Going straight for the minus 200. The minus 200 bet.
I was going to say, what are the odds the McDonald's machine actually works? That's got to be.
Oh, they changed that. No, McDonald's cracked down on that, man. You go to McDonald's.
Well, did they find? Well, you know the whole background. You're a conspiracy guy like I am. So there was a 27-minute video I watched on the whole conspiracy of McDonald's ice cream machines. I should send it to you, Mark.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, my buddy was like, "Why did you watch it for 20?" I said, "Because I could." It hooked me. After 5 minutes, I was like, "I'm committed now. Now I got to see how all this plays out." Long story short, they cut a deal with the manufacturer of the machine, and the manufacturer will only use a certain company. Close. Will only use a certain company to fix the machine, and it's high dollars, and it charges the franchise. So the franchisee owners got tired of paying this buku bucks to hire the specific company that they had to use to fix the machine, which it was really just an ID10 Air. It was just something very simple, easy. So this guy who worked for this company started giving out the info for free because he thought it was so bullshit. McDonald's cracked down on that, created a lawsuit, which created another lawsuit. So I'm not shocked they kind of got it fixed. But yes, it was. I will find the link, Mark. It was a fascinating video, bro.
I just thought it was McDonald's employees not wanting to reclaim the whole thing.
No, there was a trick. They had to do it just right, or this air would kick up. And most people, it was a very specific, like had to be drained, certain level, blah, blah, blah. And it was an easy fix, but it was like a $1,500 or $5,000. It's like $1,500 just to get the tech to come out. And then however much to fix it. And it was like these machines, if they weren't cleaned right at night, were always breaking. So that's why they were always down. And it was all because McDonald's forced you to buy the same machine. By the way, same company, similar machines that are in Dairy Queens and all the other places out there that work all the time. This one was like a slightly different model, but you had to use company, I can't remember the name, XYZ, had to be the company to come out and fixed it.
Maybe it was the ECRs.
It probably was.
Gosh.
Mark is just loaded tonight, man.
He's got the zingers ready, man. He's got them locked and loaded.
So anyway, enough.
I might need to see that video too, Rich. I think I'd like to check that out.
When we get off here in the next 2 minutes, I'm going to go take the dog out. And I'm going to try to hunt it down. And if I can find it, because my buddy laughed at So I can't believe you watched a 20-some minute video on McDonald's ice cream machines. I'm like, dude, it was freaking fascinating.
McDonald's McFlurry is brought to you by Spire.
All right, gentlemen. Hey, I've got nothing left. We've carried this on. I apologize. There was a lot of news items. Thoughts and prayers literally out for Stuart Friesen. I'd like to see you back racing at some point, whether it's this year or next. I don't know. Same time, put the Biff in the truck, man. We want to see the Biff. Get the Biff out there. Hey, Josh Williams, good luck finding a ride. I hope you find something. Thank you to Elite Plus for allowing us to talk NASCAR and racing here on the RaceGuru Thunder Hour. Please head over to fantasyguru.com. Check out Mark's going to be having some fire football content out there, so don't miss out on that. Sean's leading our way with all the podcasts and all the football stuff, so be sure to check out the draft guide because I believe Sean's worked on a few podcasts on that deal and more to come. Sean, what else you got cooking?
Well, like I said, it's just been a lot of the NASCAR stuff right here. I've been trying to work on the articles when I have the availability, getting the cheat sheets and hanging out with everybody in the Discord where I can here and there. And that's that. And talking to you guys about McDonald's machine conspiracies and good old-fashioned NASCAR commercials. So
excellent.
Right there.
Mark, what do you got dropping? Because you got some stuff dropping in the next couple of weeks, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing NFL preseason. Should have some sort of role in our training camp that we're doing. So TBD on that. But
August 15th.
That's right.
Yeah, and then I might have something going for the regular season for NFL too. So TBD on that. We're still finalizing the details on what that might look like, but some exciting news to come here for NFL season on my front too. So looking forward to. Hey, look, sports in general, it's ramping up, man. We're gonna get college football. I'm gonna be playing college football DFS. I don't know if I'll be writing as much college content, but I will be playing, and that's happening in like 2 weeks. So get ready, man, because it's all about to fire up here.
And Mark is available in the Discord. Please tag him at _DFS_Marlin. I'm convinced. Contests. I'm convinced you're a DFS guru, Mark. So, when you were gone last week, we wanted to give you a shark name, but we figured all the shark names were taken, so that's why Marlin worked well because they're a hunter too.
Go after the sharks, man.
See,
stick up for the common man.
See, the hero we all need. What's that, Sean?
I was going to tell you that unlike the McDonald's ice cream machines, Mark's analysis is powered by Hendrick engines. It's that good.
Some good old-fashioned chicken breast and steak.
There we go. That's what's up.
Gonna be rolling with those Ram Bighorns with college.
Yeah, we're talking. Boy, but we got to get him some sponsorship. He's just dropping them all, man. I don't know. Please head over to fantasyguru.com. Check out the subscribe button. Click on. And I believe Armando is actually handling customer service this week while Ted is on vacation. But check out the different packages. I know numerous people have reached out trying to figure out what works for them. They want betting. They want this. They're kind of on a budget. Reach out, find out. They will get you hooked up. More NFL stuff to come. NFL training camp will be dropping August 15th. I can't suggest Jeff Mann's coaching breakdown enough. I maintain that you could use that coaching breakdown and nothing else and get better at fantasy, and you wouldn't even realize it. So please check that out. That's not me blowing smoke at him. I literally think it's probably my favorite article piece of information out there in all of fantasy sports. So, but I'm an X's and O guy and love coaching. So maybe I'm just a weirdo. We will be back next week with more information on McDonald's McFlurry and ice cream machines. But until next time, this has been the Race Guru Thunder Hour. Please follow Sean on Twitter at SeanE247. Give Mark a follow as well at DFS_Marlin. Do not follow me at Fantasy Bosco. Till next time, peace.